you ever looked at vanilla Minecraft biomes? Because if you look closely, they're just so boring. Plains? Boring. Roofed forest? Boring. Desert? That's right, boring. Ice spikes? Actually, ice spikes is No! It's boring. So, I thought today I would try to make my own biomes. However, I'm going to theme them after some of my YouTube friends. Now, normally when I build stuff in Minecraft, I have an idea in my head of what I want to build and I just set out to build it. This time, however, it felt silly to just wing it. So I put my art skills to the test and came up with this basic draft of how I wanted the biomes to be spread out. But I want to do a bit more planning than that, so I coloured it in, as you can see here, and added in a few little features I'd like to have in each biome. And we started off with the Smallishbeans Swampy Swamp. Now 5 minutes into this build, I realised how much of a task this was going to be. Now it may look very basic on that map picture, but putting all the rivers in and building every single hill slash cliff slash river slash swamp, whatever you're building yourself, took quite a long time to do. Also because I wanted a very colourful theme for each biome, for this one obviously being a dark swamp-like green, I had to add a few mods in that I'd never used before. One of them being the Chromatic Grass Mod, which I could get different coloured grass, and that was kind of good in a way because we got the different coloured grass, but there was a bit of problem when it came to bone mealing the ground. Whenever you went to use bone meal, instead of bone mealing the ground straight away, it would first dye the grass white and then it would bone meal it. So you'll see a lot of white spotches of grass around and stuff. That's because of the bone mealing that I was doing. Now for my Swampy Swamp, I wanted to have, of course, the Shrek house, as you can see here, but I just wanted to feel like an actual swamp biome with lots of different green, murky water all around, and also just big loads of trees with lots of vines and stuff, kind of similar to a swamp biome you'd normally get. I only used one type of tree in the entire biome, and it was the Biomes O'Plenty willow tree. You might notice it from other series that I've done in the past, and the main reason I use this tree is when you spawn it in, it starts off with vines, so you don't have to add them in afterwards, saving me a load of time. But this biome in total took about 2.5 hours to build, and you'll see here a nice little Shrek Cave with some green love hearts in it as well, which is the final part of this build. Let's go have a look around. A very, very green biome we have here. There's a lovely path going all the way through. You got all the vines on the trees. You got like flowers everywhere. There's just like water pockets all around. Very marshy. The water seeps onto the path a bit at sometimes. We have Shrek's house here looking very nice indeed. I just copied this in from a build that I've done in the past rather than build it all over again, but it's decorated inside and looking very nice indeed. Over here we have the Shrek Lake. I was really happy with how this turned out, with a lovely bridge across it as well, leading up to what I like to call Idea Tower, where I get all the ideas for my videos. I just go in here, contemplate my life, and come up with some video ideas. But I thought it's just quite a nice natural spawning in build that you'd have in a biome. And finally we have the cave over here, the big love heart in here. There was some hearts on the walls, but I don't know where they've gone. Before moving on to the next build, here is one of the parts that was really strenuous, was building these rivers. They just took forever to build. But let's move on to the Seaside Lush Lake. Now, in comparison to the other biomes, this one is by far the simplest, but that does not mean it is boring. It's a pretty cool biome here. We've got this massive purple lake for Lauren herself, of course, with a big L-shaped island, which I kind of put the wrong way round at first. You'll see a bit later that I sort of world edit and flip it round because I messed up. And on this island, we have this massive magical tower, which I've kind of built something similar to this in the past, but I have never done one that's purple, obviously fitting in with the biome, and I think it looks very magical. I'm very happy with how this turned out. The one problem with this biome is that I didn't really build it big enough. Like you'll see here, I flip it in a second, and I don't really have that much space to put anything else, so I came up with this idea for the Loch Ness Lauren. But before that, we have this little waterfall here, plus some trees added in. I think they're called umbran trees, and a lovely gold path. And I also linked up some fairy lights to the trees to make it look extra pretty. But my favourite part of this biome by far is the Loch Ness Lauren, which is just a big Loch Ness monster. Never really good at building heads on these sort of things, but I think I did an okay job. It doesn't really look scary, but it doesn't look friendly either. To get to the Loch Ness Lauren, you have to take some stepping stones from the swamp over here, and you get over to the island where you've got the fairy lights linking up the trees on your pathway up to the magical tower, which is decorated inside with some magical themed stuff. We have our waterfall here, which is a bit weird. And a bit out of place, but I don't mind it. I think it looks okay. It's a bit steep. I maybe should have made it a bit smaller. And over here we've got the Loch Ness Lauren, which looks really cool, I think. The head may be a bit big and the body may be a bit small, so maybe we'll have to alter that in the future. But I'm happy with how it turned out. After this, I went a bit mental and decided to do all the rivers at once. I decided to do all the colours of all the grass as well, and separate each biome from each other, as this was the most tedious task, and I wanted to save my future self from having to do it. The next biome we made is our centre biome, which is Joey's Rainbow Mountain. This biome, oh boy, this biome took the longest to make by far because of the sheer scale of this thing. Having to make a mountain from scratch using World Edit, no matter how good the World Edit tools are, was just the most annoying, stressful, horrible thing I've ever done. And I had to make each layer separately. The end result, however, was very, very good in my eyes. The mounting is a bit uneven and not exactly how I wanted it, but there was no way I was going to redo this entire thing because it took like an hour and a half just to make the mountain. My original idea was to add a massive cave in the center of it as well, but after this took so long, I was kind of losing the will to live, so I decided to just do a bit of a smaller cave. It's still a relatively big cave, but a little bit smaller than I originally imagined. In some early plans as well, I thought I might have a mountain house on the side of the mountain. I soon decided against this as I thought the mountain by itself was so bright and vibrant. I didn't really want to add like a splotch onto it of like a house, so instead I just kept it how it was and added a little minecart going up to it. As you'll see in a second, we peek into this cave, I added a cobbly stone sort of texture to the bottom of the cave rather than keeping it rainbow, so I could add all the rainbow crystals in, and as we're glitching through the wall here, you'll see the minecart track being made up the mountain, which I accompanied with some rainbow fences, which all matched the layers that the fences were on. So obviously red was red, orange, orange. And then for the rest of the biome, I just added in a little minecart station and then just covered it in trees, which was also annoying to do because to add trees, you got to place a grass block and then your sapling, as placing just a regular sapling on the chromatic grass wouldn't work. So that's why you see all these green dots throughout the build for adding the saplings on. But the final effect, I think, is very effective. A rainbow mountain, if I ever said one. The thing that I found a bit weird is how the pink looks a bit different to the other colours. I would have changed that in the past and made the pink a bit bigger. We also added a bridge from the swamp to the rainbow mountain as well. You can see the minecart station, which is very simple inside. Get on the minecart from the chest here, head up the mountain, as you can see by the rainbow fences there, and into the cave, which is so glittery with all the different rainbow crystals, as we know how much Joey loves his crystals. Our fourth biome today is CPK's Orange Oasis. This biome stands out from the other biomes, as all the other biomes are kind of made of grass, then trees, and all the basics of a regular biome. This biome, however, is a little different. It is sort of an orange desert, which I decided to decorate with some rocks. Now, not your usual kind of rocks, some quite deformed sort of rocks that you see in sort of deserts across the world. Now, you're probably wondering, Joel, where does the oasis part come in? Well, there is a bit of water in this and a sort of oasis-like feature where it's got some life and isn't just dry desert. At first, I was doing all the rocks by hand. Soon, I figured out a world edit command that would help me out drastically, and I also use this to make our fox cave here, which I am ever so pleased with, because I think this thing looks really cool. It sort of fits in with the landscape, but also looks like a fox. Look at that, adorable. Here is the Oasis section. You'll see in a second that I start building a massive sort of pale lake, I called it, as I used yellow water. And because there is water here, I added in some life around it with some trees, which I soon changed to palm trees, which are a little bit smaller than those massive ones I put in at the beginning. And finally, I finished off the fox cave by adding in just some random stuff into it. I don't really know what this is. It just looked pretty cool and decorative. There you go. But I'm very pleased with the overall effect of this biome. We've got another bridge linking the two together. Cacti spread out across all these really cool looking rocks. Very misshaped, very unique. Each one is kind of different because they're just all over the place. Our fox cave with the rainbow mountain in the background I think looks really awesome, with the little tongue entrance, and inside, very simple. Not sure what that is, maybe it's got magical powers. all linked up with a path which we can follow to our pale lake, which has got some squids in it at the moment, our palm trees, and a bit of life around here. We got some flowers and other stuff like that to make it look a little more green, although these things are very pale. I'm not entirely sure why. A pretty cool biome though. Our final biome today is Ldshadowlady'z Pink Paradise. Of course I had to do a pink cutesy area for Lizzie. If I had the Biomes Aplenty mod, you'd probably see rabbits and goats jumping all over the place in this biome, but I decided to add a few unique features to this, one of them being a glowing pink heart-shaped lake. I actually added in a few more little heart lakes around, you'll see in a second, but my favourite part by far of this biome is the magical tree, which took me about an hour and 30 minutes just to build this alone. It was a pretty big tree, okay, because I decided to go for this really unique leaf design, which I'd seen from like a painting on Google, where the leaves sort of like fall down and sort of like hang off the tree, which I tried to recreate in Minecraft, and I think I managed to get a pretty good effect out of it. It just makes the tree look really old and like withered, but magical at the same time, and I was really pleased with how this thing turned out. Now, although this took so long to build, I actually enjoyed this quite a lot in comparison to placing in all the other little trees, which are just saplings later on, as they just were taking so long to add in as this biome was quite big. Under the tree, however, I added in some pink glowing water. I also added some hanging glowstone and bone milled the ground a bit as well. Here, in this tree time-lapse, which takes about 10-20 seconds, that's actually about 40 minutes of work. Yeah. For the castle in the top right, I actually added in a castle I built before in my pink castles video, which world edited in wrong so that all the colours were wrong, but I think it works really well in this biome. Then I added a load of pink flowers around it, plus some more pink cherry trees to finish off the effect. And I can reveal the fifth and final biome, which has so many trees, although this section here is just flowers. I thought I'd add a plains bit in as well because I was just sick of placing trees. But the main piece of this build being the magic tree here, which I am so incredibly pleased with. I think this thing is really pretty. You can just imagine fairies just dancing underneath it and stuff, can't you? Follow the path around. There's not really much on this biome other than the lakes, which you've got some pink heart lakes here, one massive pink heart lake as well, and then of course the main castle building, which sits upon a hill. But there you have it, 5 YouTuber biomes. We've got magical trees, we've got a rainbow mountain, we've got a swampy swamp, and we've got a Loch Ness Lauren, as well as a fox mountain. Let me know which is your favourite biome out of all 5. I honestly can't choose which one is my favourite, although I believe the tree is my favourite thing I built this entire episode. So that's going to be it for this video, guys. I hope you did enjoy these 5 biomes. Let me know which is your favourite in the comments and in the poll in the top right, and I shall see you another time for another video. Make sure to hit that like button, as this took me about 10 hours to make. Thank you so much. Goodbye.